Hello and welcome back to Nerd Doc. The fourth installment in the John Wick film franchise has been released in theaters, and this video explains the ending and major plot points in the new film. That means there will be spoilers for John Wick Chapter 4 in this video. This is your spoiler warning. There are chapter timestamps, so you can jump around the video as you wish, and as a reminder, because the film is still in theaters, we can only use footage from the trailers, so please bear with us there. If you have any questions we did not address here, or just want to give your opinion on the film, leave a comment below and we'll respond as best we can. This video will only cover the main plot points and ending of John Wick Chapter 4, as well as discuss whether or not John Wick is dead. If you're looking for a breakdown of the post-credit scene, you can find that in our other video linked in the description below, which also discusses all the spin-offs currently in production. The basic plot of John Wick Chapter 4 continues from the previous films. John is trying to earn his freedom from the High Table, but killing the Elder, which he does at the beginning of the film, simply won't cut it. The High Table sends the Marquis to shut down the New York Continental, bombing out the inside of the hotel, with the Marquis also killing Sharon as a way to punish Winston for assisting John throughout the last three films. To earn his freedom, John will have to rejoin his family, which will allow him to challenge the Marquis to a one-on-one duel to settle the score once and for all. Along the way, he seeks aid from his good friend Shimazu, owner of the Osaka Continental in Japan, but the Marquis enlists the help of Kane, another old friend of John's. Kane initially doesn't want to assist the Marquis, but he has no choice because of the deal he made with the table. Kane gave up his vision and offered his services to the table in exchange for his daughter's life. He is now blind, but still a complete badass, and often listens to his daughter play her musical instrument, which is when he's most at peace. Unfortunately for John, Kane knows him very well and easily tracks him down at the Osaka Continental, resulting in Shimazu getting killed by Kane. Unfortunately for Kane, Shimazu has a highly trained daughter, Akira, who will most certainly be seeking revenge for her father's death. Did you hear spinoff? Because I heard spinoff. Moving on, John has to go back to the Ruska Roma family in an attempt to rejoin them. Since the Ruska Roma sit at the High Table, if John can get back into the family, this will allow him to challenge the Marquis to a duel. Katya, John's sister within the family, is now in charge. However, she doesn't like John because his previous actions caused many deaths within the family. Katya makes John avenge those deaths before she allows him back into the family. This requires John to go to Killa, who seems more like a Bond villain than any previous antagonist in a John Wick movie. This is Scott Askins in a fat suit, so he already looks a little comical, but then he moves like an expert martial artist similar to Sammo Hung, but much bigger and even more agile. John takes down Killa, which gets him back into the Ruska Roma family and allows him to challenge the Marquis to a one-on-one duel in Paris. Winston is John's second for the duel and makes a deal for the restoration of the New York Continental. So basically, if John wins the duel, his obligation to the table will be satisfied and no one will be after him anymore. At the same time, Winston will also get his Continental back, with the High Table covering all costs for rebuilding the place. However, if John loses, Winston will die alongside him as his second. Of course, the Marquis calls for a proxy to keep him out of harm's way and has Kane take his place in the duel, which will occur at sunrise the following day. With the help of Winston and the Bowery King, who has all of his normal support abilities despite the fact that they're in Paris, John now gets a new suit which is made of Kevlar from head to toe, but he has to make it across town to the location of the duel by sunrise or he automatically loses. To help prevent this from happening, the Marquis increases the bounty on John's head up to over 20 million in order to get every assassin in Paris to go after him and stop John from making it to the duel. This fails because he's John Wick, and he makes it in time with some additional help from Kane. The end of the film is a traditional duel. Kane and John both use special, old-fashioned pistols with one bullet each. They walk out 30 paces, turn around to face each other, and then on the command of the Harbinger, who represents the High Table, they shoot. Now keep in mind, since they each walked out 30 paces, they're now 60 paces apart. Whoever dies first loses the duel, obviously. The first shots hit both participants in the arm. Since no one is dead, they move closer and get another bullet for their pistols. Now at only 20 paces, 40 in total, they shoot again. John takes a hit to the shoulder, while Kane is hit in the lower abdomen. Both are still alive, so they move to 10 paces. At this range, it's virtually impossible for these trained assassins to miss. However, keep in mind they are using old-fashioned pistols, not modern, well-refined and engineered weaponry. These pistols aren't as accurate as what they're accustomed to working with, which is why, in addition to the distance, they didn't get headshots right off the bat. In addition, they're trying to shoot quickly in hopes they can kill the opponent before they themselves die, which further lowers their accuracy. Kane fires his pistol and hits John in the lower abdomen. However, John does not fire, simply dropping to the ground in pain. This was an intentional gamble on John's part. There's no ruling that you have to shoot as soon as the Harbinger gives the go-ahead. In addition, both parties only get 1 bullet per attempt. John bet his life on Kane missing his shot or inflicting a non-fatal wound, which would then allow John to take his time with the shot, virtually guaranteeing a kill. This works out in John's favor, as not only does his friend not land an immediately fatal shot, but upon seeing John drop to the ground in agony, the Marquis interrupts the proceedings to reclaim his right to participate and takes over for Kane. What the Marquis failed to realize was that John hadn't fired his shot yet. The Marquis assumed John had taken his shot and simply missed, which meant that he could safely finish off John with his own hands instead of having Kane do it as a proxy. The Marquis wanted the satisfaction of doing it himself now that the presumed danger had passed. Unfortunately for the Marquis, John took his final shot with careful aim and ended the Marquis' life in an instant. Winston and Kane both congratulate John. Mr. Wick sits on the nearby stairs, then over time slowly hunches over, slumping to his side due to the loss of blood from his various injuries. This leads to the final scene of the film, which shows Winston and the Bowery King standing over John's gravestone, which reads "Loving Husband" as per John's wishes. They remark on how they can't believe they're standing at John's grave, then they walk away as the credits begin to roll. So the big question here is, what's the fate of John Wick? Is he alive or is he dead? This is kind of like a case of Schrodinger's cat. John is dead until he's not. While at one point John Wick 4 and 5 were planned to film back to back, plans have since changed. Keanu Reeves and director Chad Stahelski have said they're taking a break from John Wick for a while. When they're ready, they'll sit down and figure out if they have any more John Wick stories to tell. In the meantime, we'll get the Ballerina spin-off film as well as the Hotel Continental limited series. What this means is that John Wick is only dead if the creators decide not to make John Wick 5 or some other sequel that would feature the character. Kane and Akira have unfinished business, and any movie that features those two could potentially include John Wick as well. But until that, or a proper sequel happens, John Wick is dead. So in reality, he's very likely alive and well, but we won't get confirmation of that anytime soon. To put this in a bit more perspective, you don't put John Wick through everything you put him through in this movie just to have him die on the stairs from injuries that didn't have to be fatal, especially with Winston and Kane nearby, and Kane surviving with very similar injuries. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to kill off John Wick in such a passive way after all that. At the same time, if there isn't a John Wick 5, then this wraps up John's storyline and allows that part of the franchise to come to an end. It's a win-win situation for the creatives behind the franchise, but it does leave fans with a somewhat ambiguous ending. So what did you think of John Wick Chapter 4? Was it too long, or maybe not long enough? Do you think John is actually dead? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to check out our video on the post-credit scene and John Wick spin-offs linked in the description below. For now, that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who loves John Wick and Donnie Yen.